Welcome to another Business Spotlight, where we share insights, reflections, and pearls of wisdom from local business owners. My name is Kerry James. I'm a business coach and a facilitator. And on this afternoon's Business Spotlight, I'm delighted to welcome CEO of Red Flag Alert, Mr. Richard West. Good afternoon to you, Richard, and welcome to Business Spotlight.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So Red Flag Alert, quite an intriguing title. Not too much of a clue about exactly what you do. So please give us a bit of history. How long has the business been going, and what do you specialize in, please?
Yeah, so the business is how I would describe it was a strip out of a much bigger business. We started our journey started with a company called Begbie Trading Group PLC, who are a top 10 accountancy firm that specialise in corporate restructuring and turnaround. They designed a financial algorithm that helped identify failing businesses prior to them failing. And off the back of that, we believed, or they believed at that point, that there was a technology that we could release that would help any business trading with another business in the UK how to spot, identify and minimize exposure to insolvent bad debts, but trading with a business that will go on to become insolvent. So the business as the concept's probably been around for about 15 plus years in terms of delivering those insolvency insights. But as a standalone company, the business has been here now for 10 years and 11 months. So we're going into our 11th year next year. But again, we've probably gone through all of the challenges that a typical startup, scale-up technology company goes through, which was, build a product which costs money, sell an MVP, take that to market, and then go through multiple cycles then of collecting cash, putting it back into innovation, improving and scaling the product, so on and so forth. And where we are today is we employ 50 people, revenues of around about 4.5 million in terms of annual recurring revenue, on course to deliver 100% growth this year. And earlier this year, we completed a Series A investment led by a company called Foresight for £4.5 million into the organisation.
Great. Oh, well done on that growth journey so far, Richard. So who might be your ideal clients at the moment then, Richard, in terms of size or culture or business sector?
So if we look at sector first, because we can work across many sectors, but I'm a big believer in focusing on the sectors that you win in. So we're got a very, very good offering for financial services, both the lending community and the intermediary market, the brokers that fuel that sector. Likewise, professional services, so all types of advisory firms from accountants, auditors, restructurers, turnaround through to corporate finance, R&D tax claim specialists. They're probably our two main verticals as an organisation, where we have our highest number of clients within our portfolio, but also probably our highest or lowest conversion rate in terms of seeing that ideal customer and getting them to subscribe to our software. Our technology's got 5 uses, and I think depending on the use of the technology depends on who we talk to within an organisation. And what's nice about that as well is when you actually look at a marketplace, there might be 22,000 accountants in the UK. If you can sell to 5 personas in those organisations, you've actually got 100,000 people that you can sell to. So our technology is broken down into 5 pillars: find, check, comply, protect, and connect. They happen to rhyme, just because I put that into the investment brochure a few years ago. But those solutions are, finds all around sales and marketing enablement. How do people use our technology to drill down on their own ICP and identify those businesses across the UK and are able to engage with them? Check is our global KYB offering. So KYB is Know Your Business. People might know that as a traditional credit check, but we have our Red Flag Alerts' its own standalone credit referencing agency, and we have live access to over 350 million businesses worldwide, where you can consume a due diligence report on that organisation that looks at financials, credit scores, insolvency, propensities. It will also unpick things such as corporate structures and ultimate beneficial ownerships from a compliance perspective. Moves us on to comply. We have a global AML and PEP sanctioned adverse media screening tool. So it enables businesses that trade with organizations to stay on top of any potential red flags from a compliance perspective, but also enables them to onboard customers compliantly in regulated markets like financial services and professional services. Protect is our portfolio management tool. So that enables businesses to trade with organizations with confidence. So you can upload your trade debt book, you can upload your supply chain into a portfolio, and you'll have a 365-day updates on anything that impacts your portfolio that might go on to lead a company to go on to become insolvent. So that's an industry-leading insolvency portfolio management tool. The way I describe it is, imagine an insolvency practitioner looking after your trade debtors and suppliers and being able to let you know where red flags are sooner rather than later. That's what our portfolio management tool does. And then Connect is, how do we take our technology and deploy it into the worlds that people work in? So if you're working in a CRM system, how can our rich data be plugged into that to help optimize CRM, but also automate a lot of the donkey work around data admin? So inputting data fields, keeping those data fields up to date. Our plug-and-play solution with apps for CRMs tend to offer that as a solution for our customers.
Sounds like quite a powerful combination of tools and applications, Richard. That's great. So how competitive is it, and how do you differentiate yourself? Is it the combination that differentiates you? Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, I think in terms of a commercial perspective, when looking at our competitors, we essentially have 5 times the competitors based on that all-encompassing data solution, which works well for us because any one of our customers that are spending multiple amounts of money with multiple vendors, there is a consolidation angle in terms of having one vendor that can tick the boxes across multiple parts of the business: sales data, compliance and onboarding, risk data, etc. But also we're really passionate around technology. I'd say in terms of our market, who we compete with, from the big boys like Dun & Bradstreet and Experian, through to smaller players that specialize in things like ID verification, which might be companies like Smart Search. Where we tend to win is our technology is best of breed. We've got a very innovative tech team that use the best technologies, the latest technologies. So we're a technology-driven data business, and our customers get all the benefits of that. So whether that's looking at the way that we ingest data, we can ingest data quicker than our competitors, which means delivering quicker updates to our customers, which is the difference between an insolvent bad debt or not. It might just be the fact that the way the technology looks and interacts. One of the things we're really passionate as an organization is, how can you put our technology in the hands of an apprentice and they make the same educated decision as a 10-year risk professional on, would you extend credit to that organization? And I think one of the biggest challenges that we see at the moment for a lot of our customers in the current landscape is, being in a bit of a bear market at the moment in terms of the economy, how do you bring risk and sales and marketing alignment together as a part of your go-to-market strategy? How do you take out the high-risk businesses in your funnel and bring on board customers that are going to withstand the test of time, but more importantly, have that high propensity of growth as well? So how do you land stickier clients that will go on that journey with you, rather than chasing logos that you don't know in 12 months' time if they're the next Thomas Cook or Carillion?
Makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned challenges for your customers. What about challenges to you, Richard? You mentioned new investment. You mentioned you had 50 people. What would you say are the challenges today to Red Flag Alert?
I think the main challenges for our organization, which will be for a lot of organizations that are in scale-up mode, is going to be around talent acquisition. So talent acquisition for us isn't just about bringing in new talent, but it's also taking the fantastic talent that we have and bringing them on that learning journey with us. We've got aggressive growth plans as an organization, and our ceiling is constantly being pushed in terms of our expectations, and it's vital for us to find the right talent that can come on that journey with us, who are also dynamic in terms of where they're looking to go with their career. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges for us. And that recruitment's not just about the finding of people, that's the whole recruitment strategy in terms of a systematic process for onboarding people, not that can fundamentally do the job, but also massively align with our values as an organization. You can hire the best people, but if they're not aligned with the values, it's going to cause a bit of an issue in terms of your culture. And ultimately, the culture and the people are going to be what makes this machine fly, and that's what we're looking to do. I think other challenges for us as well is, obviously, as we scale the business, the main challenges for the organization, again, or any particular scale up, is how do you optimize business operations whilst continuing to deal with business as usual tasks? It's not a case that you can shut the doors for 3 months and go, right, we're going to focus on developing all of our sales and marketing collateral, getting it all aligned in CRM and ready with an ABM strategy to deploy. You've got to be able to do all of that whilst also continuing to run the business at the current run rate that we do to satisfy shareholders and investors' returns. And I think that's the challenge for our particular organization as a business. It's that ability to stay aligned with the overall vision and be accountable for continuing to head towards that vision, whilst not also allowing where we are today to stall as your attentions are focused elsewhere. So business dexterity, I think our CFO would describe it as, but that's where we are currently as an organization. That's probably some of our biggest challenges over the next 2 quarters.
Very good. And what about further down the field then, Richard? Let's say sort of maybe 3 to 5 years. You say you've got investors with expectations, etc. What aspirations do you have for the business, and what size and shape do you envision it to be in that sort of timescale?
So I think from a headcount perspective, in terms of the size and shape, we've probably gone through the most rapid amount of growth in terms of our headcount currently. So I'd imagine headcount now, year on year, if it increased by more than 10 people year on year, I would now be surprised. There's no real reason for it to do so unless we're probably seeing 4-figure growth, which I don't think, even with our business currently, is possible. So headcount at 50, I think it'd be surprised if we get that to 70 or 80 now over the last 3 years, because we've got a good critical mass of people, and it's now just about adding in additional people that can complement the teams that we've got, or adding the right talent in places where we need additional bandwidth. So that's where we will be from a headcount perspective. In terms of revenue, our vision is to become a UK leader in business data intelligence and analytics. What I mean by that is not just a leader in terms of our brand recognition and being known for it in that space, but in terms of the types of deals that we do, the velocity of deals that we do as an organization. Any person looking to acquire our company, whether that's a trade exit or additional investment that might be coming in at a later point, is having that ability to demonstrate that we are winning new business at a high velocity and we're retaining that business as well. We'll maximize any potential exit or next stage of growth that we'll be looking at over the next sort of 36 months time. Outside of that, so again, turnover, I'd imagine we will be between sort of 12 and 15 million pound in turnover in the next 3 years. And again, the end game, ultimately, what people are buying into here is a vision within the business at the moment is we've got a vision of getting to 10 million pound as a reoccurring revenue model as an organization. We should achieve that within the next 24 months. And it's everything that needs to be a part of that particular vision. So how do we deliver industry leading retention rates, upsell rates, and new business rates to our business model, whilst remaining fairly lean as a headcount perspective? And more importantly, the technology that we deploy, we continue to innovate at the rates or not that we currently do. But more importantly, from an end user perspective, it's a very simple product that can be deployed across different levels of business acumen and leadership to deliver world-class outputs for their organizations, irrespective of size.
Sounds like you're on a very exciting journey. It sounds very engaging to all the team. That's great. So,
Yeah.
Richard, just give us a little bit of a sense of your background and to help us to understand a little bit of context to what lessons you've learned as a business owner.
So I think my background's always been in revenue-facing roles. So I got my first job. I was literally talking to one of my marketing team this morning who was doing a newsletter, and she asked me about my background. But my first job was, people would call it, rewind it 10 years ago, would call it a telesales role. Today it's got more eccentric names like sales development rep or business development representative. But ultimately, my first job was in a telesales environment, picking up the phone, talking to business owners, asking if we could procure dilapidated forklift trucks. Believe it or not, that was the business model, with the goal of acquiring them on the cheap, replenishing them, and then selling them for a profit. So that's where my career started, and I think I suppose what my skill set is as an individual is the ability to understand what we do, who we do it for, and then scaling that at a mass scale. So even if I use that example, this was a small little forklift replenishment company in Weston-super-Mare in Somerset. And rather than just calling these organizations on a piece of paper with lists of manufacturers on it, I decided to go to the next level and start talking to big businesses with heads of supply chain, where I could talk to them about their assets in their fleet that we could procure. And it led to a deal with Morrison's where we procured over 45 forklift trucks. And our company at that point didn't even have enough liquidity to purchase the agreed amount of forklift trucks. But it was at that point, the person that I worked for pushed me into advertisement. He said, look, you'd be really, really good selling advertisement. And I got a job working for a media company in Bristol when I was sort of in my late teenage years, 19, 20, after leaving college. And that really started my journey in B2B sales then. I worked my way up then from running Asia Pacific for that particular firm with a team of 120 people, and found myself in Manchester 5 or 6 years later, beginning my journey at Red Flag Alert, where we are today. So it's a revenue story. I've started from picking up the telephone, mastering how to pick up a phone, how to deliver your tonality on a phone, how to get past gatekeepers, how to engage with a decision maker, how to scale that, and then more importantly, how that's relevant to whatever you're selling, whether it's an email marketing software, whether it's sales coaching, whether it's credit risk management, whether it's money. It doesn't make a difference. It's the same challenge for every business, right? And I've been lucky enough to now work within a product where we fulfill a part of that itch, but we also fulfill the next part of the journey, which is when you do find a new customer, how do you onboard them rapidly and make sure that customer experience is very, very good for both internal stakeholders, but also your customers. And then more importantly, how do you manage that relationship moving forward to ensure that you don't inherit any bad debt? So yeah, that's my background. Revenue is the game. Talk time was my best friend, and hitting the phones, hitting it well, learning from the people around me, and then just absorbing as much knowledge as possible as I climbed that corporate ladder from selling forklift trucks to selling into blue chips. And that's enabled me to work at Red Flag, build up a client base, and have a good commercial acumen in terms of what's good and how does our product help other organizations.
So it sounds like that sales commercial background has put you in really good stead, Richard. But since you've been the MD or the CEO of the business, what are the broader lessons do you think you've learned? If you were to give yourself advice now on day one, knowing what you know now, above and beyond sales and marketing, what might be your top 2 or 3 tips for yourself?
I think the lessons learned over probably the last 24 months, trust your gut. I think what I'm probably guilty of as an MD stroke CEO is that when you work in sales or revenue as a channel, it's an extremely accountable channel. Ultimately, you have a number, you hit it, and it's a monthly metric that rolls over and rolls over and rolls over. You might be the top salesperson tomorrow. You could be out on looking for a new job in 3 months' time. So you have to be consistency. Consistency is key in sales as a profession. Moving into running an organization, though, it's a big transition looking at other departments where you're not an expert in that field and having to learn the OKRs and the KPIs that are successful for that part of the business to be running optimally and aligned with the overall organizational strategy. So I think, for me, trusting my gut, because there's a lot of things where if it was in the sales team, it would have been dealt with ruthlessly and quickly. But because it's in technology or because it's in finance or because it's in marketing and because you're not a practitioner in that particular discipline, I think you're too often, I think business owners, or at least myself, has shown far too much forbearance for underperformance than what you would have if it was within a sales position. So I'm not about making all parts of the business ruled with an iron fist around like you would a sales organization, but trusting your gut when you know something's broken, and making a decision sooner rather than later, because it compounds, right? So worst case scenario, you make the wrong decision, you find somebody else that can come in and sort out your potential issues. You know, that's the worst case scenario, is that you find that person. Best case scenario, everything's resolved and you're in a much better place anyway, and you would like to trust your gut. So trusting your gut is something personally that if I could just rewind myself 6 months ago, 12 months ago, or 18 months ago, I would have made different decisions quicker by trusting my gut than trying to use my head a little bit and trying to think outside of the area of expertise that I actually sit within. So that'll be one point. I think other advice for me as well is learning to trust others around you. I think that's massively important. I think when you go from working in a sales environment where you're responsible for your number, you can't blame marketing, the lead flows, the quality of the leads. Ultimately, a sales professional is graded on their ability to close revenue with a low ratio. And if you're a good sales professional, you want to know how you scale that so that you're earning 1, 2, £300,000 a year. I think for me personally, some of the bits that I struggled with, which I'm getting better with, is building the right leadership team around you that you fully trust to deliver your vision. And I think that's the transition from being a department head to running an organization, is you set the vision and the objectives to meet that vision. But then you need to work with your management team in terms of the strategies that they're going to deploy in order to meet your objectives that are going to fuel your vision. And then trusting those guys to be able to do that, then going back to the first point, which is then trusting your gut. If it's not happening, and if you're having to repeat yourself too many times consistently, making tough decisions quickly, because there's some fantastic people out there that can come in and hopefully help you achieve what you're looking to achieve next. And I think that's even more important when you're going through rapidly growing businesses, because what's good today might not be good enough in a year's time. And it's that point before, which is everyone's got a ceiling, and your ceiling might be okay, but within the organization where the ceiling's constantly looking to be pushed to new boundaries, you need to find people who are dynamic enough to keep pushing their own boundaries and their own ceiling to mirror that of your organization. And at some point, you will get disalignment, and you just need to agree that, you know, can you live with that, or do you need to make a decision because your aspirations, the company's aspirations, outweigh some of the talent that you might have acquired in the earlier years that just don't have it in them for that next job. And that goes for myself included. When you look at exit strategies, there might be a better CEO and MD to do my job in 3 years' time, and you cross that bridge at that point as well.
So trusting your gut and building, trusting your gut and building trust with other people.
I think those are massively important. I think they're hard for business owners as well, right? Because you've also got to get rid of that bias towards you always do a better job than other people, or you'll put more effort and soul into something, and you will when it's your business, right? So it's that ability to dial down some of your expectations, but not also allowing people to sort of abdicate from their responsibilities to deliver on the objectives.
If you're not familiar with it, Richard, I'd certainly recommend Stephen Covey Jr.'s book Trust and Inspire. Sounds like you might really enjoy that one. That's great. Well, thanks so much for sharing your journey, Richard. Just one last question, if I may.
Yeah.
In relation to the viewers of Business Spotlight, do you have any announcements or offers you'd like to make in case anybody's interested in picking up the conversation with you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So look, for any of your viewers that might be watching today and listening to this and might even be interested in what it is that Red Flag Alert do, by all means, if anyone wants to go onto our website and request a trial and just put a reference in there that it's from the Action Coast webinar, we will be more than happy to give you free access of our software, whether that's for helping you with your sales and marketing data strategy, whether that's helping you mitigate risk within your trade debt book or your supply chain, or whether you are in a regulated business and you've got issues around synthetic fraud and identifying key people within organizations. We can set you up with a free trial on our software. to show you what we're capable of. And clearly, if that works, we can have a commercial discussion with your audience as well. But yeah, fill out an inquiry form on our website and just put a reference in the Action Coach, and we're on a free trial, depending on what part of the solution people might be interested in.
Very good, excellent. Well, Richard, thanks again for sharing your story and your time today. And we will put the website link together with these posts and these videos. And all the very best with Red Flag Alert.
Brilliant.